Can someone please tell me why ESPN is really pushing Josh Allen to be the MVP of the league? I get it. Like Josh Allen is out. They keep on saying Josh Allen's having a historic year for Josh Allen. He's like, he is having a historic year for Josh Allen. Josh Allen came to the league very raw, and he was more of a runner, a running quarterback than a thrower. Like he was okay, but he threw a lot of picks. And this is the first year that he's equally good as a runner and good as a passer, and he's cut down on the picks. And he's lost Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs didn't want to be there anymore. They traded him to the Texans. Stephon Diggs ended up being hurt with the Texans. And my Browns traded him a receiver. They drafted a receiver. But Josh Allen's got the same coach. The offensive coordinator changed. They had let go of Ken Dorsey. But he's been working on the same offensive coordinator since the end of last season. So nothing's really changed that much for Josh Allen except for losing Stephon Diggs. So it wasn't like there was this big jump. But, I get it. Here's the thing. I think the league are still searching for the next Tom Brady. And I think they wanted to be Josh Allen. Really, it should be Lamar Jackson and probably Patrick Mahomes. But I think they wanted to be Josh Allen. And I don't think that's the case. When I look at Josh Allen, I like Josh Allen, but I always thought he was like a poor man's John Elway. John Elway was great, man. When you start talking about like Mount Rushmore quarterbacks, he might not be on Mount Rushmore quarterbacks, but he's in the discussion because he was that great running and throwing. Like John Elway was tremendous. I always thought like Josh Allen was a poor man's version of that. But in this media era, it's almost like they try to put him in the same era as Elway. And it's like, he's not that. He's really good, but he's not that. I think Josh Allen's already won his MVP when he got engaged to Hailee Steinfeld. You won in life. Listen, the only thing that might be better for Josh Allen this year, going to 2025, is probably winning the Super Bowl. But dude, you won the Super Bowl already with Hailee Steinfeld. And most players would say, MVP Hailee Steinfeld. I'm taking Hailee Steinfeld. She's nice. Man, plus you play in Buffalo. You're not playing New York or Dallas or LA or Miami. You playing in Buffalo, New York, and you got Hailee Steinfeld, bro. You already got your MVP. But let's see who deserves the MVP. Stats-wise, QB, Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow leads the league in passing with way over 4,000 yards. Man, if he has another great game, he might be closer to 5,000 at the end of the season. He leads the league in touchdowns with 42. If you want a guy who will help you come back in games, it's him. You're looking for a comeback kid, man. It's Joe Burrow, man. But Cincinnati got a horrible defense. And the offseason, on the draft and free agency, they got fired fired the defensive coordinator, and just fix that defense, man, because their defense is completely horrible. And that's the only reason why they're on the outside looking in when it comes to the playoffs. Like, they still have a chance to make it, but they will have to lose. They have to win the last game, and for everybody else to lose for them to make the playoffs. I think that's almost impossible. It's a 99% chance that's not going to happen, but they got a chance. But man, they can't waste the careers of Joe Burrow and T. Higgins and Jamar Chase. Their offense is fine, but they got to fix that defense. But back in the day, like, it was possible for you to be on a losing team or a team that's losing and win an MVP, but they don't do that anymore. The MVP the league got this thing where they just give MVPs to quarterbacks. But for me, they should break that rule and give it to Saquon Barkley. If you talk about historic seasons, Saquon Barkley is about to break Eric Dixon's 40-year record of rushing in a season of way over 2,000 yards. Eric did it in 15 games. O.J. Simpson did it in 14 games. Saquon's doing it in 17 games. So he had an extra 2 games to do it. But the rush over 2,000 yards, not too many running backs can do that. It's a lot of wear and tear on the body. This is like equivalent of a quarterback throwing for like almost 6,000 yards. It doesn't happen that often. So Saquon, the Giants got rid of Saquon. The Giants, it was on Hard Knocks in the offseason, and the GM was like, no, they made their choice. They chose Daniel Jones over Saquon Barkley. And Saquon Barkley was their best player. And because they basically thought Saquon was cooked. They said, well, running back's career kind of goes downhill after a while. They let him go. He goes to Philadelphia, which was already a good team. But if remember, at the beginning of the season, Philadelphia was not good. Like, I'm sure the coach was on the hot seat. The fans hated Philadelphia. Saquon Barkley saved that team. Like, they got Hurts, but Hurts wasn't having a great season. He was doing okay, but his season wasn't as good as it was the previous season. Man, I don't even know where Philadelphia would be without Saquon Barkley, and he's having a historic season. The fact that he's not even the fact that he isn't leading the MVP is ridiculous. But fine. So we're not going to give it to MVP. We're not going to give it to a defensive player. So let's look at the quarterbacks. So who deserves it? Well, Lamar Jackson stats. He won the MVP, I think, last year, and his stats are better than last year. If Josh Allen's having a historic season for Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson's having a historic season for Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson isn't running as much because they got Derrick Henry, but his passing has even gotten better. But they probably won't give it to Lamar just because Lamar's won it twice. So who else is in contention if it's not these guys? Well, let's look to the NFC Central, Detroit and Minnesota. Both Sam Darnold and Jared Goff both lost only 2 games. Sam Darnold wasn't even supposed to be here. Sam Darnold was supposed to be a stopgap. They drafted J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. Sam Darnold was only supposed to be a stopgap, and J.J. was supposed to take over. J.J. gets hurt in the preseason. Sam takes over. And now, if they beat Detroit, they'll have the best record in the NFC. But Sam Darnold's not in contention for MVP, even though his stats are way better than Josh Allen's. And look at Jared Goff. I don't know what Detroit be without Jared Goff. Jared Goff was much like Sam Darnold. Jared Goff was looked upon as a bust for San Francisco. Jim Harbaugh gets there, totally revamps him, fixes him, but then they get rid of him. They trade him to Detroit, and I thought Jared Goff was done. Once he got to Detroit, the only thing Jared Goff at that point he had his hot girlfriend, and she's really attractive. I think they're still together. Shout out to him. I figured, man, he's in Detroit because they suck. I thought he was cooked, man. I cannot imagine Detroit without Jared Goff. He is so good with that team. I don't know if he'll have the all-time records as quarterback with them, but I think he'll probably break a few records. But I can't imagine Detroit without Jared Goff. And also, his numbers are better than Josh Allen's. I throw you somebody else whose record isn't as good as Detroit. I mean, or even Buffalo, but they won the division. Is Tampa Bay with Baker Mayfield. When Josh Allen got drafted, Mel Kiper, draft guru for ESPN, said that the Browns should have drafted Josh Allen because they had the number 1 pick. They went with Baker Mayfield. Baker, he was fine with Cleveland. It was time to pay him. But then Baker had this thing where he threw interceptions. He was fighting with the media. He threw his teammates under the bus sometimes. He wasn't a bad guy. He was just immature. They let him go. They signed Deshaun. Even with the masseuse stuff, but who knew that Deshaun would be so injured and forget how to play football. But Baker goes to Carolina. He sucked in Carolina. Him and Darnold both sucked in Carolina. He gets cut, goes to the Rams as a backup, and Sean McVay saved his career. Whatever he saw in the film with Baker, he fixed. He fixed Baker Mayfield. I thought Baker was going to stay with the Rams. He bet on himself, went to Tampa Bay after Tom Brady left. Had a good year last year. And this year, man, Baker Mayfield is right behind Joe Burrow in the stats. Joe Burrow has 42 touchdowns. Baker is tied right now with Lamar Jackson with 39 touchdowns. And Baker also has 4,000 yards, over 4,000 yards passing. He's having the best year of his career. I don't think he's going to win. I don't think they're going to win the playoffs because I think Baker still is prone to screwing up, either getting hurt or just throwing picks. But he's far mature now than he was with the Cleveland, and he's settled down a lot. So, and plus he's a dad. So he's a better person now and better player now than he was when he was in Cleveland. So shout out to Baker Mayfield. But his numbers are just as good or better than Josh Allen's. Even better than Josh Allen's. So if the list of the people that I gave you, who do you think should be the MVP? Do you think it's Josh Allen? Do you think it's Lamar Jackson? I'll tell you somebody that they never talk about. Patrick Lamar Mahomes. Kansas City won the Super Bowl last year. They have a chance of going back and winning again this year. And he's not even discussed being as an MVP. Yeah, he's won it like twice before, like around 2020 or something like that. But how come Patrick Mahomes is in contention? If Josh Allen's in contention for MVP, and we don't even know what Buffalo's going to do in the playoffs, Kansas City's always got a chance to win. But yeah, Patrick Mahomes is not even in contention. So for all the people that I listed, who should win MVP? And maybe there's somebody else I didn't mention. Shout out to my Browns, man. We suck. But at least we got the number 3 pick in the draft. That's all we got is the draft. Ay, Columba.